Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of Tea and Talk with Rec. I'm your host Joseph and this is, who are you?
I'm President Spirit River Stretwolf.
Okay, and who are we?
We're the Representation Executive Council. Our guest here today is Shereen Samuels. Shereen has been the Director of Student Services for SAMRU for the past 9 years. She is a strategic and approachable team leader with more than 17 years of progressive leadership experience, has a master's degree in professional communication, award-winning mixed research on a practical framework for increasing meaningful workplace inclusion, and 20-plus years experience facilitating community engagement and change management. After having worked with the Student Association for more than 17 years, she is moving on, fulfilling her dream of being able to focus entirely on strategic level EDI work. So thanks so much for joining us today.
I'm so grateful that you guys had me here.
Yeah,
I'm so happy
super
to be here.
excited.
So, I want to hear, you started as peer support coordinator and you climbed your way up to SAMRU to be the Director of Student Services.
Up the big ladder.
Just asking for a friend, you know.
Asking for a
Where'd you go from there? What was the latter steps?
Well, I'll tell you, it goes back further than that. So
Oh.
I am, spoiler alert, old as dirt. And I went to school at Mount Royal in the 90s, so 93 to 96.
Oh.
And that was around the time that the Peer Support Center was started as a service in the Students Association, and I was one of the first volunteers.
Wow.
And it was the first volunteer thing I'd ever done,
Mm.
and it changed my life. It actually set me on the course of volunteer management and community development, like that whole sort of field. I was inspired to go into it because of my experiences with the Peer Support Center. So I went out into the world and did a few things here and there. And then in 2004, SAMRU was, it was SAMRC back then because we were a college and not a university. Yeah, SAMRC was advertising for a Peer Support Center coordinator, and I applied. Primarily because I love this place so much, you know, like that connection to sort of one of the most foundational professional development pieces for me that kind of set my whole career in motion. I was just really thrilled at the opportunity to be able to give back and participate in an organization that I valued so deeply. And so I started as PSC coordinator. I was promoted to student services manager after about a year. And then after about 8 years of that, an opening occurred at the senior management level, and I applied and became the director of student services. So it's been kind of like a gradual path.
Yeah, that's incredible. And I was just thinking while you were talking that I joined a lot of clubs on here with SAMRU, with the Pride Center and at the time the Native Student Center and things like that.
Yeah.
And so I think I would agree, doing a lot of that work for me really changed a lot of, my life trajectory. And I think that's a big reason why, I ended up wanting to apply for a rec position. So it must feel pretty great, you've done that, and then you've also been the director to manage these different student services that have helped other people also maybe find their path as well.
Totally. I think that it's one of the most inspiring things about this organization in general, and my job certainly, from my perspective in specific, is that because the stuff within my department is very much the student-facing services and programs, I feel as though I've spent 17 years really getting that tangible sense of how what we do changes people's lives. Yeah. We've had students, and sometimes it takes time for that to manifest itself. We'll be providing services and doing our day-to-day work, and sometimes you're doing the day-to-day work and you're not sure what the difference is that you're making, and then out of the blue someone will come back that you haven't seen in a few years and say, I completely changed my course of study because of what happened to me, or because of how SAMRU supported me, or it's just there have just been so many stories over the years. It's been really it's been really moving and inspiring to work here every day.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Okay. Should we get into some of the interview questions?
Yeah,
I think the ice
so
is sufficiently broken.
Sufficiently.
So the first one is, as the director of student services, what inspired you to go into your role? Like, I guess, well, maybe since you gave us some background, what inspired you to go into the manager of student services, and then what inspired you to go into the director?
Well, I think what's inspired me just in general is I love working with people, like in that service delivery mode, but I also love working with volunteers. That was I think the initial sort of passion driver for me in my career was I loved working with people who were working from a space of feeling so passionate about something that they would do it for free, right? Like that's people bringing the best of who they are and what they have to offer to the table. And when you work in volunteer management, you're working with people like that every day. And I just couldn't really imagine a bigger gift than being able to work with people in that sort of highest purpose kind of headspace and heart space all the time. So I think that's the thing that's driven me. I will also say, though, that I am easily bored. It is what it is.
So like that too.
Right?
Yeah.
I love starting new things. I love the challenge of trying to shape or create something new. And I'm able to sort of stick with it for a few years. But if I don't have new challenges mixed in with the same old, I start getting twitchy. And so I have to say that one of the things about the Students Association, and I think it's because of who our membership is, man, there is something new every year. Every year there's something that is like, well, we've never experienced that before.
Oh, wow. Wow.
And I've just found it to be continually sort of challenging, and it's grown me and stretched me and challenged me for every year of the last 17 years.
Awesome. I think that's talking about going back to where you're talking about with the drive that brought you to this role.
Yeah.
And that, it's the work is very impactful towards students. And so that's a big reason why we wanted to have Shereen here with us today. Because ultimately it is to get to know some important folks, but why it's so impactful for students and why students should care about certain people within their campus community, right? And someone who has kind of managed a lot of the student services in SAMRU. I was hoping we could talk a little bit about those services that have historically sat in your portfolio, because I know that SAMRU is kind of doing some rearranging with our structure, but historically what we've sat in, what you've in terms of student services, what you've kind of done in your portfolio. And so I think Joseph, you have the first one here.
Yeah, so let's talk about period poverty. It's a major issue on a majority of campuses. SAMRU is fortunate, students are fortunate enough to have SAMRU to provide free menstrual products.
Yeah.
Not all associations do that. Not all universities provide that as well. So how does SAMRU address this issue? And is there anything new coming out of it?
Well, I would say, first of all, I think it's interesting. One of the things that I've noticed as we sort of, as I've moved through the years, is that what we call things changes. And so I love that people are talking about period poverty, because that's a thing that women have experienced in North America, for, a long, long time.
Yeah.
Right? That notion that all of the menstrual products that you can purchase are disposable, which means that you're always having to purchase them. And it has a financial toll that happens on people who menstruate and not on people who don't.
Yeah.
And so I think we've always done our best to, when we talk about food and financial services, which is one of the key areas that sort of has sat within my portfolio, we were always trying to be, and continue to try to be, really creative and out of the box thinking about what are the financial challenges that students are facing, right? What are all the different ways that we can try and mitigate the financial stress on students? And so I think, period poverty is just one of those areas where it made sense to, as an extension of our food insecurity, our food security programming, things like the free breakfast and the food and hygiene cupboards and the fact that we're a depot of the Calgary Food Bank. The period poverty stuff came out of the fact that if you apply for a Calgary Food Bank camper, you only get food, you don't get hygiene products. But hygiene products are in need, obviously.
No, for sure.
And so we thought that it was kind of one of the reasons that we started the independent food and hygiene cupboards.
That's awesome.
Was because we were like, what we're always looking for, what are the gaps we can fill? We're not trying to be experts or be everything to everyone. We try and build as many partnerships as we can so that, the student dollars are stretching as far as they can possibly be stretched. And then, so in setting up all those partnerships, we say, okay, where are the gaps that we can actually fill with resources? And this was one of them.
And that's really interesting because I think what I kind of get from the rec team is I think I'm the one person that's like utilized a lot of student services. I think I've utilized every single student service that's available within SAMRU during my journey in Mount Royal. And I think there's all these resources to address these different types of poverty. But I think the main thing is having the courage to come into the door, like go up the stairs, go to the peer support center, go up to because I've used the hygiene cupboard myself too, and I've made toothpaste or something like that, or deodorant or something. And I think that courage is definitely probably the one thing that's really challenging. And so I hope that folks that are watching that, those services are available to you. And you don't, you can make an appointment if you want to, but I believe you could just walk to the peer support center.
And can I just say, Spirit, one of the things that I love and respect about you so much is that you're willing to talk about that experience, because I think when people do experience those kind of financial stressors, there's often such shame. People attach such shame to it that they don't want to talk about it. They don't want to say, I was in that boat where I needed that help. And the problem with that is, of course, the more no one's talking about it, the worse the shame is for people because they think they're the only one, right? And I think it's so, so important, particularly students in positions of leadership like you, for you to be just like really upfront about that and say, look, I needed that stuff, and it, thank God it was there, right? And I just thank you so much for saying that, because if there were anything that I wish students really would take to heart, it's that, your student association exists to help this work for you, right? This academic experience, because there's the actual academics and then there's everything else. And this is one of the most challenging times of life where you're trying to do something hard. And it's hard in every way, and so we're just here trying to make it better for you in whatever ways we can.
100%. Yeah. So please go onto the website. Is there a section on the website, SAMRU at the Peer Support Center?
I think we just got the website, so now you're testing me. What is it called on the website? I think we'll have
the link here. We'll put it at the bottom. We'll send it to our comms team. So if you go to the link at the bottom there, you'll be able to find more information about the Peer Support Center.
I know, 17 years, right? And I can't tell you what it is. Well, because the website's been totally revamped.
It just changed. So you're talking about different creative ways to address things like financial poverty. And you mentioned things like what we've talked about, specifically around food and menstruation products. What can we talk about around financial poverty, though? How does SAMRU address this issue?
Well, we talked about some of the things, and I think that food is a real critical one. If you can't feed your brain, you can't learn. And as we know, particularly in the moment we're in now, food is more expensive than it's ever been. It's absolutely bonkers.
Inflation.
And so I think our food services are more important than they've ever been, and I'm really proud that we're always looking for ways to do better, even when students have expressed a lot of gratitude over the years for things like free breakfast, the food and hygiene cupboards, the food bank. emergency student loans,
Yep.
that whole program,
Super helpful.
which is kind of like a just-in-time. It's $300, but it's like $300 can make or break your life in certain moments, right? So, but I think the newest thing we've got is, and they're going to be coming out this semester. They're still in the process of being built, and I think everyone knows supply chain issues and whatnot have made getting things built and delivered much harder than it's ever been before. But we've got the SAMRU Care Cupboards, they're going to be 5 of them around the campus. Because we recognize that, if you're an EA or EB, it can be a bit of a trek to come down to Wickham House and access the stuff that's here. So we're going to be setting up these care cupboards that's going to have perishable and non-perishable foods, some hygiene products all around the campus, so that, your Students Association is there for you no matter where you are on campus.
Well, I think that'll even help with that courage, right? To this is in a safe space that I'm usually in.
Yeah.
And then there might be more supports available over at the Peer Support Center. I can go there.
Totally.
I think that's a really, really innovative way to show how SAMRU is there for students.
Yeah, that's incredible.
The next question we have here is still related to SAMRU services. What's the most utilized SAMRU service that students use? And then what's the most underutilized service, would you say?
Okay, well, I'd say that the most utilized one is the health and dental plan.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Hands down.
Yeah.
That plan is fully used every year.
Well, it's really good. I've used it.
And, I think, again, students may not put 2 and 2 together that plan exists because the Students Association and your rec members fought to put it in place years ago, right? There was a time when it didn't exist.
Yeah.
I've been here long enough to remember a time when that health and dental plan didn't exist. So, so that, hands down, that's the biggest one. In terms of the stuff that sits in my portfolio, I would say pre-pandemic, it was free breakfast. We were seeing probably 150 students a day, every day, Monday to Friday, first day of classes to last day of classes. Wow. So that's a lot of students.
Yeah.
And I think one of the things that certainly we struggled with over the last year and a half was how to continue to deliver that kind of value to students when nobody was allowed on campus.
Yeah.
And so I think the challenge now is, because we've got essentially 2 cohorts of students that didn't have the experience of what it was like to be on campus and what the Students Association could do for them.
Yeah.
So this is me telling you, if you don't know about free breakfast, come get some free breakfast, because it's there for you.
Again, I'd probably have that peer support link as well on the website.
Definitely, yeah. 2nd floor, Wickham House, 8:45 a.m. until supplies run out, Monday to Friday, every day of class.
Yeah, definitely.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
and the most underused was your next question. I think the one that I really wish more students knew about is the Student Advocacy Resource Center.
Right.
Because that's a service that is about your progress, your academic progress. It's a service that is meant to help support students in being their own best advocates as they're engaged in processes with Mount Royal. So it could be anything like maybe you've got a conflict with a professor, or maybe you need to appeal a grade, or maybe you're experiencing an allegation of plagiarism, academic or non-academic misconduct. Maybe you want to appeal a final grade. There are any number of circumstances as you're sort of making your way through your academic career here, where the processes might not seem easy, right? They might not seem intuitive as to what your rights and what the path is that can lead you to the best chance of success in navigating those things. And this SARC has done some amazing work with students over the years. So I just wish more people knew about it. A lot of people do. But it's definitely one that we try and talk up whenever possible.
Yeah, I've another service that I used, and I know that it really helped me when I was going through a lot of things in my life, and I couldn't complete a class, and so it kind of helped me walk through how to do a withdrawal with cause.
Yeah.
And I think that was really important because these are things that I don't think a lot of students have, right? Like
No.
things that they know about. So, yeah, so I think we'll move on to our last question here.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. Do you want to?
Yeah, so this is just to wrap things up. Our last question is, so you've been here for 17 years, and we were just wondering if you had any highlights you've had, or any stories, or just talk about your legacy, you know?
I would like to say that my legacy is that I didn't do any of it alone. You know, I just think I have worked surrounded by passionate, skilled, caring people the whole 17 years I've been here. And all you have to do is find someone who works at the Students Association. It doesn't matter what their job is. Just talk to anyone and they will, if you're a student, they'll help you get what you need. And to have worked in, and as you know, I moved up the ranks of sort of accountability to actually be sort of part of creating that culture, co-creating that culture, has just been one of the proudest things in my career.
Awesome.
Okay, thank you so much. You've been an amazing guest, and we're so happy that you're here, especially your last month here.
I know. It's bittersweet.
It is bittersweet, yeah.
I hope you have, a great experience in your next chapter in your life.
Thanks so much, guys.
Don't forget about us.
Not possible.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Okay, thank you, folks. That's it for our interview session.
Yeah, and so the next week I think we'll have the business section, or in a couple of days or something like that. But yeah, for now, thanks for joining us.
Yeah. See you, folks.